BJ O'Neill here with the Business Coaching Success Podcast. So glad you're here, where I share with you strategies, tools, and tips to be able to grow your business coaching practice to six figures and beyond as a Christian business coach. Let's jump in. Hey, BJ here with Business Coach Mastery with another episode of the Business Coaching Success Podcast, all about avoiding the trap of a lack of follow-up, and honestly, a lack of follow-through. So we are nearing, this is being recorded, we're nearing the end of 2023. It's hard to believe that another year has gone by. I know we say those kinds of things all the time. In the next several weeks, as we typically release a new episode every week, we're going to focus on what does 2024 look like for you? What are you not doing that you should be? So if you are already coaching, I got some things I want to share with you to encourage you to tighten up that can help your 2024 go better in terms of getting clients, making more income, and making more impact. If you're considering getting into the coaching industry, if you've never coached before, maybe you own a business, maybe you're in ministry, maybe you have a lot of C-suite experience or CPA, whatever, and you're decided to either pull coaching services into what you do. My question to you is, are you making a plan? Are you following a plan? Do you really understand where you're headed? But bigger than that, or in addition to that, I want just to give you some very simple things that honestly are huge roadblocks for those that are looking for success, and it causes them failure, and they sometimes don't even understand why it is. Today, specifically, all about the trap of the lack of follow-up. I'm going to give you a really simple example to get your mind wrapped around exactly what I'm referring to, because this happens all the time. And honestly, it happens in any type of sales environment. I'm going to see this all the time. I've trained, hundreds of salespeople over the last 20 plus years. And this by far is one of the number one challenges to building a successful sales career. The same thing for business coaching. As a Christian business coach, when you're building relationships, you got to look for, hey, where's the areas that I need to focus in? What are my potential pitfalls, challenges, and traps? And that's what I'm going to share with you in the next few minutes. So number one, you have to understand that when we don't have a appetite for constant improvement, it doesn't mean change. That there are missed opportunities. And here's why. You don't know what you don't know until you know. Right? And so that's why you have to constantly learn, get around and explore and watch others who are either they've gone before you, or they're just better at it, but they're more successful, or they're just, they're several years down the road. And when you want to analyze your activities and what you're doing so that you don't have costly either mistakes or just costly missed opportunities because you haven't continued to learn. So when it comes to follow-up, I'll use this as an example. There's a good likelihood if you're watching this episode, you're listening to this episode. By watching, I mean you might be watching on Spotify or YouTube. You might be listening on Apple or Google, wherever you're listening, watching, and so on. You're likely watching this, and you probably have gone to a networking event of some sort, right? And there's a whole conversation about that, just about doing that well and doing that poorly. But let's just say you met two individuals at that networking group. And one of them could be someone who you need to know, who is connected to the community or connected to a lot of people that you should know, of which some of those could become clients. Another one of the individuals that you met was a business owner. So you met two people that you didn't know prior to actually going there. The next, let's say it's a Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday breakfast, mixed in the evening, doesn't matter. It was a Tuesday. And Wednesday comes, and because you don't have a process to follow up with new contacts based upon the kind of contact that they are, you get distracted onto other things, and multiples of days go by without you doing any outreach to either one of those contacts. And Part of it will be, number one, sleep. Number one is the great eraser of the mind. That's the reason why you need to have a bona fide plan that when I go to a network, I'm just using a networking event as an example. Like last night, we had an event with our small group from our church. If I met someone there, if I actually yesterday had someone connected me via text to someone that I've never met before. Like I'm using networking as an example that when you meet people for the very first time, regardless if they're a potential actual prospect for you to coach, or someone that could be a joint venture partner, a referral, but you getting to their extended network would be a really good idea. So it doesn't matter. But when you don't have a process, number one, sleep is the great eraser of the mind. You get up the next day, we'll call it Wednesday if your event was on Tuesday, and it's almost as if it didn't happen. You haven't even thought about it. And then so you go through you do some stuff on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday afternoon rolls around and you're looking at some notes, you're looking at your calendar, whatever, and it dawned on you. You're reminded, oh, that's right. I forgot to reach out to, Bill and Ted or whoever it is, right? But I want you to really think about, let's say that you go over a 4 to 6 month period with that type of loose plan. And I want you just to internally for the moment, just consider over a 6 month period, how many potential new people that you could meet. And then when you don't have a strong follow-up plan and you fall into that trap of a lack of follow-up and follow-through, how much missed opportunity there is. And it happens every day. So you have that problem. Or the second problem is you have not put them into priority, the value of the follow-up. And also, I want to say this. There is a significant, if you want to be in the top 3% of all business coaches, you have to do what the 97% are not going to do. Well, here's what the 97% are not going to do. They're not going to have strong follow-up plans and systems and processes. So when you do and you begin to follow up and you show up in a different way, your respect and your prominence will go through the roof because you're just automatically beating out that 97% of people. And those that you're following up with will be like, man, they're on their game. They're really in it to win it. They're super professional. I mean, and they want to, this is how you become the hunted. It's doing what others are just unwilling to do. And that's always going to exist in almost every industry under the moon, especially in coaching, because we are working with people. I think it's unfortunately, it's fair to say that you look around the globe, but certainly even the United States, you look at just health and wellness. It's a very small percentage of people who take that seriously, who are disciplined, who have a plan, and who are truly, they're fit in terms of their discipline. They're only going to eat certain things. They're going to exercise. They're going to do what's required. And the majority are not, just because that's just the way that it is. Well, follow-ups is the exact same way. The 97% simply will not do what is required. How do I solve this? How do I change this? Number one, you need to have a follow-up plan. One that you're willing to make edits and change over time. So, meaning, and over time you get really good at it. So, from a basics perspective, you're just going to follow up somebody the next day with a text and an email. Do both. Don't just say, well, I don't want to bother them. No, they're not going to. Trust me, it's going to be okay. It's a simple, great to meet you. Hope you have a great week. It can literally be as simple as that. 4 months down the road, you might make that better to get more of a response. But in the beginning, you start simple. And again, I don't care who you're meeting, how you met them, how you connected. The point is to create a follow-up plan. Trust me when I tell you that the simplicity of what I'm saying can have a profound effect of thousands and thousands of dollars. And your ability to scale to make an impact on the lives of a lot of people. Great to meet you yesterday, BJ. Hope you have a great week. And then your email could be just simply a same version of that, just a little bit longer. Okay? Day or two later, You go to the next level, would love to get coffee with you, lunch, whatever. Again, just based upon what you talked about, what you connected. The point is that second layer is a point of action to get coffee with them, to get lunch with them. This is clearly assuming that wasn't already set. You didn't talk about that because sometimes that happens, right? But the bigger point is you want to have a several step process to follow up with those that you're connecting with, especially if you connected with them specifically as a prospect from a coaching perspective. And then you begin to develop different ones. My follow-up process is this when I go to a networking event like that. My follow-up process is this when I am connected to a potential client or a prospect through a referral. My process is this when I get connected to and so on. Now, if you're sitting there going, wow, that sounds like a lot. That's the purpose of just starting simple and small. And then in a few weeks, you make a couple of adjustments. Here's the true treasure in growth. It's small, incremental adjustments over time. That's that way with health, that's that way with savings, and it's certainly that way with building any kind of legitimate, sustainable coaching business. Period. Done. Lock the door. Move on. Because if you try to do a lot in 1 or 2 days or whatever, it'll burn you out. It'll overwhelm you. And I'm not saying that there aren't going to be days that you do a few things like that, but over time, when you have a consistency of continuing to edit, to adjust, to improve, that's where the goal is. Routines. Then you need to have a system. There are so many systems out there today, and by system, I mean a CRM. And at worst case, at least put it in a Google Doc or a Google Sheet. Do something to keep up with what you said and how you said it. Now, they're super inexpensive. I would just go ahead and argue to make the decision to get a CRM like Go High Level, like Active Campaign, something. I don't care which one it is. There's a lot of it. HubSpot's free. HubSpot has a free version. If you don't have anything, you can use that. Okay? But you simply are going to build, and if you don't want to do it yourself, I'm not techie, whatever, you can go to Fiverr, Fiverr.com. There's a number of places you can have someone to create this for you for extremely inexpensive amounts of money. And you're going to create a funnel, if you will. This is my reach out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So here's what you may not know. That those who are willing to go to the 8th to 12th reach out, that's where reality lies. I'm going to say that again. Those who reach out up to 8 to 12 times, because that's typically what it takes to get someone to respond back to you. Why? Well, number one, just like you and just like me, they're busy. You're not on the top of their list in the very beginning. And so you have to have some consistency, applied with the right amount of times. And we've kind of discovered between that 8 and 12. After 12, it's probably not going to work anymore. Now, if you're from the sales world, you're like, this is the most basic thing in the world. Yep, it surely is. And guess what? Just like the rudiments of what an NFL team does on the practice field every single week, you must understand, learn, and master the simple. If you ever hoped to get into the advanced strategies, the advanced world, certainly if you're going to have a very strong, sustainable, lasting 6-figure business coaching practice. And then lastly, you want that follow-up to begin to include value. What do you mean by that value? Well, that's going to come in different forms. Sometimes it's based upon what you connected with them over. You know what I mean? Like if you connected on a certain topic, and then this is, a little easy, but let's just say that you connected and you discovered that you liked the same sports team, right? And they happened to win a great game that week. So you can connect, and some people have said, that just sounds like you're just no, you're connecting with someone. And if that's their actual passion, Connect with them over their passions. Now, you don't want to be making stuff up and just try to like things that you don't like just because they like it. That's not what I'm referring to. But when you can find some common ground, clearly you're beginning to build an authentic relationship. When it comes to business coaching and business strategies, when we say value, we're talking about things like, and if you're watching, I'm holding up my book right now, putting a book in their hand. I don't have a book. Well, guess what? You can write one pretty quickly in different ways. That's actually one of the tools that we give our coaching team. When you're a coach with us, we make you an author, and we put, value in the hands of a potential prospect or anyone who you're trying to connect with to build your network. You give them value. You put a book into someone's hand, and man, can change some things. It increases and raises your prominence. Again, we're talking about, getting better at what we do, planning for 2024. I'm telling you, the follow-up game, when you have a legit follow-up game, people are going to respect you and think about you in such a way that you stand out and you become super unique. It's giving them some insights and some thoughts about some of the challenges that we're going through, or that they're going through, I should say. But the point is that you're not just always reaching out. Hey, do you want to connect? You want to connect? You want to connect? There's nothing worse than a very basic, generic connect on LinkedIn. You've seen them. If you're truly serious about growing your network, about getting clients, you can't just be generic. You have to have value, which that's another separate conversation by itself. Get the premise though. So follow along. You've got, steps 1, 2, and 3, reach out 1, 2, and 3, and then you begin to change the texture. Maybe you, I went to a coffee with a friend, somebody I've known for a very long time, by the way. We went to coffee, and that afternoon he goes, "Hey man, what's your address?" So I gave him my address. A couple of days later, I got a thank you note, a handwritten thank you note. And he basically was saying, "Hey, I appreciate the friendship." I've known him a long time. I did not need that necessarily, except for I can tell you when I opened that up, I'm like, wow. Because immediately it triggered, he went to the extra length to write that note, to get my address, number one, to write that note, put it in the mail, put a stamp on it. That is exactly what I'm referring to. That is a process, and I even mentioned something about it. He does that with every single person that he goes to coffee or lunch with, regardless of how long they've known each other. It's just his thing. So prayerfully that begins to really give you some things to ponder and consider. If you're not developing your strategy for constant follow-up and connection, especially to your prospects, you're missing dollars. You're missing the opportunity to pour into someone's life and make a significant impact simply because you get sidetracked and you move on to other things. And it's really not because you don't want to. It's simply because you have not created the disciplined routine that's needed for success. Hope that makes sense to you. Maybe you're listening to this, you're considering coaching, but you don't have a plan. You don't really know where to start. You can make an impact on the lives of others. You've got experience as a business owner. You've got experience as maybe in leading and managing, but you can coach individuals. You can go to businesscoachmastery.com. That's businesscoachmastery.com. There's a button there. You can get some information about our done-for-you coaching system. It'll just give you some things to think about on taking an entire system so that you don't have to create tools, resources, and whatnot, and spend all of your time building solid relationships, which we can talk about. And, if we get a chance to ever connect, we can talk about strategically further how that works for you and go from there. All right? I hope that makes sense. Until next time, take care.